You need only conceive of the desire you wish to unleash into this world. And through the deliverable magic of your imagination, you make it so. The world around you in all its immensity and sensory tangibility is simply solidified consciousness. It conforms to the contents of your marvelous mind, which possesses the awesome power of reshaping form itself. Let me repeat that again, for it is a truth so profound, so revolutionary in its implications, you must let its enormity fully penetrate your consciousness. You are the operant power animating not only your circumstances, but every facet of your experienced reality. You are the cosmic dreamer conjuring universes into existence. To know this as an intellectual concept is one thing, but to engrave and add its truth into the very fabric of your being is to unlock your divine thermonuclear power. It is not through soulless techniques or mental trickeries, but by a perfect absorption into the certainty of being that you reprogram your mindset toward boundless achievement. Imagine what fires could be stoked within you if you realize that every finite impression you perceive is but a shadow resonance of infinite capacities stirring within your immortal being. That the creations you behold, splendid as they are but a dim foreshadowing of the kaleidoscopic wonders brewing in your subconscious depths, yearning to burst forth into objective manifestation. The pyramids, the symphonies, the cathedrals and empires of this world that so eminently impress the senses, these are but faint mirrorings of your spiritual inferno, dream realms that will one day pulse into palpable substance. For within you dwell worlds upon worlds, galaxies waiting to be born from your imagination's matrixal womb. Success, my friends, however you personally define it, is not something you pursue and capture like a fleeting animal in the wilderness. It is your natural state of being once you become keenly aware of the infinite bundles of power and potential throbbing within your very soul. The great sages and avatars throughout the ages realized that desires automatically achieve consummate expression simply by their being conceived and firmly occupying one's consciousness. Jesus was able to resurrect and transfigure his flesh because he operated with a spiritual continuity, that he was the Son of God, that he was one with the creative principle animating all existence. Those who mastered and activated the power of their subconscious faculties became outright alchemists, able to reshape molecules and attenuate matter into new forms and realities. The beauty you witness blossoming across the vast spectacle of creation is but an adumbration of what you can continually generate by lapsing into the infinite reverie that you truly are. Whatever your heart yearns for, whether it be wealth, perfect health, harmonious relationships, creative masterpieces, or to elevate this earth into a utopian paradise, it is all readily achievable once you accept the reality of being the cosmic dreamer vivifying the universe from your spiritual furnaces. You need not anxiously struggle, scheme, or exhaust yourself in pursuit of success, for it blossoms effortlessly from the womb of your consciousness. It is simply a new perception, a sublimely enlightened rearranging of your thoughts and ultimate self-action that brings into view the spiritual realities always connected with your being. Cares, struggles, conflicts, and travails abound only for those who buy into the duality of being separate from the creative principle. For them, every desire is an uphill battle against opposing forces and stubborn circumstances that appear indifferent to their longings. But for you who recognize that all force springs from your consciousness, success becomes as natural and inevitable as your breath itself. When you dissolve the illusions surrounding you, and they are illusions, friends, for this world is nothing more than a passing panorama of images molded from the infinite plasticity of your imagination, then you live continually in the spiritual ethers of perpetual achievement. You dwell in the cosmic dream wherein you are the eternally victorious protagonist. Ask yourself what you truly desire, not the frivolous, ephemeral cravings fueled by egoistic passions and fleeting delirium, but your true, godly longing searing from the very core of your being, that insatiable fire burning from your spiritual source, your essence, desiring full expression. Once you become vividly awakened to that core desire, That yearning you feel in the quietude of soul. You need only give it your rapturous, unhesitant attention, and that divine passion begins to remake and remold your reality in its own likeness. When you really want something with the totality of your being, so that every fiber, every neutron is supercharged with that intention, the whole universe bends and acquiesces to your will. Difficulties and oppositions will only appear to those living in a finite, dualistic realm that sees struggle as necessary for attainment. But you, who comprehend that all is your perception, all is molded consciousness, understand that simply by riveting your desires in the boundless ethers of your conscious temple, you summon it into objectivity without any resistance whatsoever. My friends, you are so much more than you currently recognize. You have settled for a pale rendition of the blazing infinities churning within your immortal being. You are the very weaver of the cosmic loom, the eternal artist birthing realities with your perpetual dreaming. The successes you presently applaud as extraordinary are but timid preludings of the super spectacles and dimensions waiting to erupt from your resplendent subconscious territories. They are washings of the same waves that ceaselessly thunder and swirl through your infinite depths. Do you ever ponder why certain individuals, against all conventional odds and circumstances, achieve staggering success and operate on a scale that boggles the finite mind? It is because they are tapped into the spiritual continuum of their divine imagination. They are in resonance with the celestial keynote sounding from their eternal being. Every true genius, avatar, and master creator is one who merely discovers how to get themselves out of the way and become a clear window for the infinite source currents to pour through their human vessel. They become empty conduits for the spiritual tsunamis waiting to uncurl from the subconscious ocean deeps within them. Such self-surrender and hollow entrancement into the depths of their being allows creators unbridled access into the prodigious wellsprings from which dreams, visions, inventions, and new realities are birthed into manifestation. What you call desires, longings, and aspirations are but coded spiritual instructions from the infinite dream currents flowing through you, signaling that new dimensions are eagerly aching to press forth into materialized objectivity. Each pure passion that sears through you is the blaze announcing that untrodden universes are anxiously awaiting to incarnate from your imagination's radiant furnaces. Your true self is formless light, an infinite labyrinth of creative and universal quintessence shaped into a resplendent being for the precise purpose of exploring, manifesting, and giving full expression to the boundless treasures encoded within your subconscious wonders. Countless civilizations, masterworks, and entire galaxies, albeit in fetal form, dormant within the limitless potencies you now call your human self. But you are far vaster, far more prodigious than the scant entities you presently ascribe to the limited personas you temporarily inhabit. You are inexhaustibly creating because you are creation itself. Your inherent nature is constant imaginative exuberance, an eternal dreaming of newer, grander, multidimensional experiences. To cease projecting forth fresh realities through your concentrated imaginations would be to extinguish the core of your ontological existence. I tell you, friends, the world that so solidly appears around you is merely a shadow realm, a brief cosmic day residue formed from the subconscious night reality simmering within you. What you presently behold with your senses is simply the ephemeral atmosphere sandwiched between the dream-swept eternities of your being. Your imagination is the umbilical cord that forever binds you to the fecund womb of the infinite. Through its brilliant paradox of manifesting forms while remaining formless, it draws ever new and wilder expressions of immanence up from the celestial abyss. You are not truly born until you realize your innate power of resurrection, of perpetually being conceived anew through the wondrous dreamings of your boundless imagination. To be twice born is not a poetic metaphor, but the literal shedding of your causal, limited identity, and surrendered embodiment of your immortal created infinitudes. Those who walk this earth as so-called enlightened masters are merely those who have merged their sense of personhood into the perpetual dream state of the Peshu. They have liberated themselves from restricting identities into the blissful continuity of imagination as their core consciousness and mode of operation. Through their realization that unbroken dreaming is their inherent state, they have become boundless radiances, infinite sources of creativity, abundance, and inspiration, eternally remolding their environments into kaleidoscopic raptures of materialized ideation. The instant you feel yourself firmly rooted in the adamantine truth that you are a cosmic creator dreaming universes into fruition, the yoke of limitation, anxiety, and every earthly care are dissolved from upon your being. You will have already entered into the imperishable paradise worlds, where every aspiration is satisfied by a mere whim of your imagination. My words may strike chords of incredulity or skepticism within you, but I urge you to consider this deeply. If you buy into the universal dream that you are separate from the creative source of existence, then you are forever doomed to live out that mental construct of souls anguished by unrealized desires and perpetual yearning. But if you fully embrace that you yourself are the wellspring of perpetual creation, the God-mind Jose imagination is what has conjured this present realm into tangibility, then the shackles of deficiency, want, and struggle instantly vanish from your being. You begin dwelling in the conscious paradise of your subconscious depths, where you are free to perpetually manifest your dreams into objectification. I urge you to have no hesitation, to slough off trepidation and the fear of appearing deluded, and take an audacious plunge into the depths of your infinite being. I implore you to fully surrender to the certainty that the consciousness animating your perceived existence is the same prodigious power that materializes all worlds. Persist in this assumption, this solemn attunement and merging with the inexhaustible deeps of your imagination, and you will find yourself gradually awakening to unprecedented degrees of creative power. Lucrative opportunities, unimaginable experiences, and realities of abundance and fulfillment will spontaneously burst forth into your existence. The gates separating you from the highest heavens of manifestation will disintegrate, for you will be perpetually rooted in the ever-spiraling dream cycle that continually regenerates creation into newer states of beauty and magnificence. Whatever the goal or vision that ignites your soul passions, cling to it tenaciously. Nurture and amplify its presence within your consciousness until it overshadows all else and consumes your entire reality with its spiritual charge. Then simply remain faithful, poised, and continually immersed in its all-pervading atmosphere. Before long, you will witness the laws of spiritual gestation mirroring your pregnant ideations into materialized expression. Your thoughts hollowing outward into solidified circumstances, as irresistibly as an oak tree unfurling from the subtlest acorn seed. The whole world was dreamed into existence by the indomitable subconscious forces of the cosmic imagination, and you are forever plugged in into and nourished by that same inexhaustible psychic power source from which all creation issues forth. You are a particle of that infinite dreaming mind, and thus in you are contained all its godly potentialities. Your inherent nature, your raison d'etre, is to dive ceaselessly into the reveries of your subconscious. It is to unceasingly explore and give full expression to the limitless ideas, orologies, and revelations that forever unspool from your immortal imagination's myriad creative channels. The entire spectacle of existence you bear witness to is but a flickering series of images projected outward from the infinite dreaming of your subconscious mind. This world of gross matter and rigid forms is but the residue of far vaster and more sublime subconscious activities that ceaselessly clamor at the thresholds of manifestation. Earthbound minds perceive only this solidified shadow play of petrified concepts as reality, never realizing the unfathomed, living depths of subconscious gestation teeming behind the veil. They see the surface foam on the crest of the wave, oblivious to the subterranean psychic currents that delivered that surging formation out of invisibility. But you, the awakened and enlightened visionary, glimpse past the mere reflected images to behold the untrammeled vastnesses of the infinite subliminal realms, wherefrom all concepts first spark into primordial being. You peer beyond the world's congealed surface forms to the inexhaustible creative source fires forever blazing within you. Having this constant awareness of the subconscious's primacy over the external world creates a profound transfiguration in your perceptual lens and initiatory prowess. It empowers you to shed the reptilian mind's habitual limitations and trance of victimization, to emerge as a sovereign co-creator and dreamer of new realities. Those studying surface mind consciousness orbit in the gravity well of the external world of so-called facts and circumstances, eternally striving uphill to rescue or attain conditions their conscious deems desirable. But one rooted in the wisdom of subconscious primacy flows with the irresistible currents of unseen creative forces continually manifesting new conditions with effortless spontaneity. Each desire you have is but an outrush of those eternal spiritual forces beckoning to be granted newer patterns of expression in materialized objectivity. In each passion and longing you feel is the psychic resonance of unexplored dimensions pulsating with eagerness to unfurl into experienced actualities through your unique dreaming mind. The infinite deeps of your subconscious imagination resemble a divine ibiscope, an eternally revolving multidimensional hologram conjuring newer astral configurations with each fractional pause and recombination of its facets. Your mediumistic mind is the window through which these boundless, ceaselessly mutating worlds of your imagination are projected into formed expression. Thus, the very purpose and point of power in your human incarnation is to surrender as a conscious, sentient departure for these perpetual reshapings, revelations, and materialized manifestations of subconscious ideation to pass through into vivification. Each time you concentrate your focused attention and emotional energies toward upholding a clear, deliberate, ill, or desired manifestation, you have permitted another fragrance of those infinite interior essences to gestate and be born in protective expression through you. Your consent and conviction is the energetic placenta nourishing the spiritual embryo. All the greatest geniuses and visionary minds throughout history were those who, consciously or unconsciously, plunged depths into their subconscious dream waters and emerged with brilliant creative bestowals wrought forth from that infinite soul's consciousness. Rumi, Lao Tzu, Pythagoras, Da Vinci, Emerson, Tesla, these and all the true titans of human progress and illumination were mystic explorers of consciousness itself. They mastered the art of extracting sublime treasures from the unseen interiors of creation and birthing them into beautified outer existence. These avatars knew that to embark on any endeavor in the three-dimensional sphere while remaining disconnected from the spiritual dream matrix was to have against the universe's current, swimming upstream in resistance to the very source of one's birthright as an outflowing of the infinite. But when aligned and in synergistic rapport with their originating subconscious well springs, they became lightning rods for reality's continual metamorphosis. Plugged into the perpetual dreaming source awareness from whence all realities spring, they harness boundless, innovative, and materializing power to reshape their environments with their willed ideations. This mystical marriage of conscious intention and subconscious infinitude is what births all revolutionaries, geniuses, and avatars onto this earthly plane. It is the alchemical sacred union where the impregnating fires of imagination conceive ideations into materialized objectivity. Your perpetual desires, aspirations, and idealized visions act as transcendental tuning forks that broadcast your intentions into the subconscious dream fields of your being. Their amplitudes reverberate through the infinite holographic labyrinth of your deeper mind, conjuring forth a harmonic convergence in the patterns that ceaselessly manifest into creation. Just as a singer can effortlessly shatter a glass through focused resonant frequencies, your subconscious imagination is able to concretize your projected thought sliders into experienced realities with infinitely more powerful reverberations. Hold an intention and fervently amplify it in your conscious sphere, and you transmit its energies like a lightning rod into your subconscious imaginative dream fields. In the inexhaustible ethers of your infinite imaginative deeps is where the concentrated thought form is taken up and nurtured through emotional feeling, visualization, and soulful belief into vivified materialization. This is why I urge you to never relinquish or abandon your passionate dreams. Never let them dissipate or grow dim from distraction or a lack of mental focus. For these crystallized visions and longings from your soul's core are the very areas activating the shape-shifting macro forces of your subconscious, the sacred keynotes that govern the creation of your experiential realities. The more you infuse these transcendent aspirations with emotional energy, sensory feeling, and convictional certainty, the more you pour your conscious waveforms into pulsating resonance with the infinite creative dream field you originate to live. This harmonic convergence of your conscious ideations and subconscious infinite source awareness is the divine alchemical ritual birthing new realities into manifestation. Envision how brilliant artists, masters of their craft, continually impregnate their canvases or symphonic scores with fresh ideations, breathe forth from the boundless reveries that forever unspool within their imaginations. Their creations seem to take on a life of their own, their sublime works resonating with a pulsating aliveness that transcends such lifeless forms. So too does the infinite wellspring of consciousness within you continually catalyze its own reveries of splendors and reveal it into birth, concretized revelations, but only if you remain ensouled in ardent communion and surrender to its eternal dreaming. If you permit yourself to become an empty channel, a hollow reed through which the fruits of divine imagination can ceaseless stream forth into creative materialization. Those oblivious to their true nature's channels for this infinite subconscious ideation instead cling to rigid identities and limited self-concepts as tiny corks adrift on creation's currents. Buffeted by circumstance, they anxiously surrender their creative powers as conscious mediators for the infinite to express itself through them in each moment. But those who remain still unbound and perpetually entranced by the eternal dreamscapes rippling within their imaginations find themselves in alignment with the vast cosmic powers of infinite origination. Every thought they conceive springs forth as an effortless hierogamy and precipitate birthing of the infinite self-expression. Form itself dissolves into liquidity, ceaselessly reshaping itself in resonance with the subtlest nuances and intentionalities rippling forth from their inwardly enthralled awareness. They find themselves spontaneously manifesting realities, experiences, and abundance from the interiors of their perpetually dreaming imagination. The entire universe itself is simply the perpetual wave patterns and precipitation of an infinite ocean of intelligent dreaming energy. All forces, apparent solids, the building blocks of nature, these are but slowed and crystallized outpourings of the infinite subconscious imagination. As a conscious human being, you are an immortal cell cradled within the womb of that infinite cosmic imagination. When you remain aware of your positioning within that eternally dreaming source, you become suffused with its birthing potential. Its boundless reveries perpetually gestate through the particularized lens of your unique perceptual identity. You are the imagination of God itself come into individuated awareness, yet eternally plugged into the boundless dream matrix birthing all worlds. What you actualize in your material incarnation is ultimately a projection and symbolic mirroring of the subliminal ideation and creative archetype, rippling throughout the infinite godlike hologram of your divine source. All too often, the human mind is rigidly conditioned to fixate its locus of identity solely on the reflected, materialized outpicturings of this world alone. It takes the frozen, crystallized residue left behind as the only true substance and supreme reality from which all else issues forth. But the enlightened individual is perpetually conscious of the primacy of the animating source field's currents and infinite dreamscapes continuously emanating from divine ideation. A vast wellspring of ever-recreating potential that continually bursts materialized realities with each progressive cycle of manifestation. What the spiritually oblivious see as fixed forms, solids, and the ultimate external reality of physicalized phenomena are just the fleeting, ephemeral crest of a wave that inexhaustibly roils up from the subconscious continuum. This external realm is but a lagging, materialized after effect, a petrified reflection of far vaster unseen activities perpetually irradiating in the infinite dream fields of creation. When you make this profound shift in your perspective, and identification, you no longer aid from the limited surface lens of ephemeral materialism. You come to reside in the primacy of your own consciousness as the eternally dreaming source and gateway through which all creative ideations must first be seeded in order to take root in experience. No longer are your powers of conception, imagination, passion, and desire relegated to the subordinated backseat of reality. Instead, you operate from the profound awareness that your consciousness itself, imbued as it is with emotive energies, focused intention, and amplified visualization, is the very womb and wellspring that continually recreates the fabrics of your relative experiential spheres. This renders the individual consciousness as the supreme fulcrum of creative leverage, the portal through which infinite idealizations and imaginative reveries are forever being translated from abstract potentiality into densified materialization. No longer trapped behind the veil of illusion that the external world is the prime creator to which you are subservient. You come to viscerally understand that your conscious imagining and subconscious communion births that which appears outside of you into concrete manifest presence. The entire infinitude of creation, past, present, and extending into the farthest dimensionalities of futurity, lies within the depths of your infinitude as a perpetual continuum of materialization. In this eternal rarity of potential and infinitude are encoded the archetypal seed prints and quintunes for all perceivable phenomena. Every historic civilization, every timeless wonder, every stupendous natural grandeur on this earth is simply a brief outcropping and materialized crystallization of far vaster evolutionary trajectories, visionary matrices that forever swim in the creative subconscious wellspring of imagination itself. Wealth, success, fulfillment, splendor, these are not hallowed prizes hoarded only for a minute few who successfully navigate the obstacle courses and uphill struggles of external life. These are your intrinsic birthrights, for they are birthed from the essence of your very being as an eternal fountain of creative ideation. Your true source exists in the rich dream waters of subconscious ideation. As an infinite entity, you are continually conceiving, desiring, and imaginatively shaping new realities into objectified materialization simply through the ceaseless outpouring of the innermost heart's passions. Truly anything you can envision with vividness, elevated emotions, and palpable sensory feeling, you already birthed its spiritual archetype by manifestation through your creative subconscious imagination. Its objectification is then but a matter of remaining centered in fervent contemplation of its radiant ideal template and allowing its materialized issues to condense. What you call the pursuit of success, wealth attainment, relationship goals, or any other heartfelt longing is but the active projection of your concentrated ideations into the infinite dream realms of subconscious manifestation. When you harness and direct your conscious mind to these aspirations with passionate clarity, you continually seed their metaphysical germs into fertile actualization. The more ardently and ceaselessly you unfold this process, the more rapidly they congeal into densificated objectification in your experiential reality. The intensity of your imaginative visualization, emotional tenor, and conviction quite literally burst them into material embodiment. You can actualize wealth, abundance, unconditional love, self-mastery, creative epiphany, ecstatic expansion, anything conceivable in the holographic projection booth of your consciousness and contemplation, in seeming miraculous synchronicity once you inhabit the deeper awareness of being the subconscious source, presence from which all external effects flow. When you live and operate from this holistic metaphysical premise, you are no longer hypnotized by the limited idolatries of surface phenomena. You no longer anxiously strive vainly toward the inevitably dissolving mirages of ephemeral objectifications, for you understand that you yourself are the infinite wellspring of imagination, from which all manifestation originates. You cultivate your intentional dreaming, visualization, soulful feeling, and absolute conviction as the creative process through which revelatory worlds flower into existence through you. You no longer fall under reactive entrancement to residues and after-ifs, but instead activate creative causality itself through the prodigious gateways of your sublime imagination. Through this seeding and amplification of intentionalized consciousness, your subconscious mind can then gestate and birth into materialization miraculous experiences of abundance, synchronicities, fortuitous confluences, and mystical reefs. For you have tapped into its infinitudes and placed your creative orders for the subconscious to fulfill. Jesus demonstrated his mastery of this process when he amplified with the fullest emotional feeling and soulful conviction his transcendent identity as the Son of God. From this elevated ideal perspective, he then accessed miraculous powers of external manifestation, levitation, transfiguration, resurrection by the sheer effort of his thoughts and imaginal contemplation alone. This is not mystical legerdemain or occult smoke and mirrors. This is the fundamental taproot, the hidden superstructure, underlying and unifying all causal processes into effect through our subconscious imagination's infinite dreams. All apparent phenomena is the net result of these omnipresent dreaming equations we ourselves have authored at the deepest recesses of our souls. When you elevate to the awareness that you are not withering leaves tossed about by the winds of fate or circumstance, but rather the divine dreamer issuing forth an infinity of worlds from your sublime imagination each moment, you access the godlike powers of instantaneous creation that our avatars and mystics throughout the ages have demonstrated. It matters not whether you have believed yourself wealthy or destitute previously. By holographically meditating upon your infinite abundance, through substantialized visions and imaginative immersions, you can remold your subconscious projections to precipitate forth its vivifying attainment through your reality's continuum. Equally, do not remain beleaguered or constrained by past deficiencies in health, relationship dynamics, or any other heartfelt aspiration. By vividly centering your divine imagination upon idealized visions of wholeness and fulfillment, suffused with profound emotional charge, you literally issue forth the ethereal blueprints from which these sublime conditions materialize into your experiential field. To know yourself as the infinite subconscious dreamer, perpetually emanating creative ideations into objectification, frees you from the limitations and constrictions that bind those who remain entranced in the objective world's illusory appearances alone. Those oblivious to their transcendent identities can only react to external circumstances, struggling valiantly yet futilely against their own unconsciously created circumstances. But one lucidly inhabiting their role as cosmic dreamer and ideative fulcrum remains in supreme command of manifesting unlimited conditions and reshaping their world through imaginative contemplation. It could be said there are really only two perspectives available to the individuated unit of consciousness. One is the poverty consciousness, mired in the surface appearances and entrapped in constricting reactions to effects. The other is the enlightened awareness of your being, the Gnostic fountain of causes, the master dreamer whose consciousness seeds, shapes, and births all apparent phenomenal effects into concrete materialization. Those shackled to the surface mind's poverty consciousness perceive only through the senses hallucinations and emotionality are based on past impressions. Their view of reality remains stifled based on old archaic programs of limitation that became solidified through repetitive imaginative reinforcement. But the God-conscious co-creator comes upon the scene newly born in each present moment. They carry no encumbering baggage, beliefs, or definitions to circumscribe the vital infinitudes flowing through him. Their perceptions are revitalized continually through intuitive imaginative influxes seeded directly from the infinite source. The poverty trap simply recycles stagnant pools of past accumulated impressions, feelings, and felt beliefs about themselves in an endless feedback loop. Their dreams and future expectations remain hopelessly quarantined and predicated upon previous fear-sown experiences. But you awaken to your supreme identity as the cosmic dreamer, ideative source presence, and perpetual birth aperture for infinite consciousness. You have rent asunder the veils of limitation and superstition that restrain your liberated creative powers. Through your intimate identification with the perpetually animating subconscious currents of infinite imagination, you are released from all inertia, reactivity, and conditioned encumbrances. For you see this world and all its appearing constructs as mere shadows briefly cast across the screen of awareness. Whereas the poverty identified become ensnared in the endless treadmill of seeking, striving, and perpetually pursuing mirages of fulfillment, always just beyond the periphery of their desires. You are centered in the still pond of infinite potentiality. You are transparent to the creative source currents, ever conceiving, manifesting, and objectifying new layers of revelation for your sensory contemplation. There is no chase, no endless becoming, for you have collapsed all false dualities of separation to awaken into repose as the creative overmind, overseeing all particularized materialization. Rather than pursuing success, fulfillment, abundance as distant goals to be achieved in some ever-elusive future, you declare your immutable presence as the cosmic success, the eternal spirit of infinite fulfillment and creative continuum. You inhabit your crown as limitless imagination itself, and from this sublime vantage breathe forth streams of ideation that materialize all qualities of splendor, freedom, and self-mastery into perpetual objective embodiment. From this enlightened summit, you no longer need search or quest outwardly for the solutions, treasures, and self-realization you inwardly contain in abundance. For you are the infinite wellspring of all these riches, the master dreamer who pervades and orchestrates every outward manifestation you eternally witness in your kaleidoscopic vision. Material wealth, health, self-actualization, creative breakthroughs, these radiate not as accomplishments or linear endpoints achieved through diligent striving, but instead as perpetual outpourings and fractal unfoldments of your eternal imagination's ceaselessly materializing potencies. There are no deficiencies or lacks, no wounded areas of being requiring arduous healing. For each new eternal moment resurrects you fully birthed, fully replenished in the waters of imaginative infinitude. Only by clinging to ideas of limitation inherited from past impressions do you constrict the sublime revelations unceasingly ideating from your divine consciousness. This conceptual clarification alone, that ultimate realization that your identity and awareness originate not from finite sources, but are themselves the infinite things-like from which the effluxes of manifestation perpetually holographically unfurl, harbors the key to your supreme, unlimited creative empowerment. My friends, you are far vaster and more miraculous beings than you currently recognize. The blinding light of your spiritual grandeur shines so dazzlingly that it outshines the pale phenomenal world your ordinary mind fabricates as its sense reality. But with inner illumination and reverential introspection, you awaken to the staggering significance of what you are, the infinite source subjectivity from which all objects and worlds stream forth. You are the cosmic dreamer, whose numinous visions materialize as vast experiential dreamscapes for your sensual immersion. Your true self is not a tiny entity confined to a physical vessel laboring ardently yet endlessly toward elusive fulfillments and terminating in eventual decay. You are in fact pure, creative subjectivity itself, from whose pregnant potencies even the immensity of a universe constantly flows into ceaseless revivification. When you inhabit this sublime recognition, this impregnating of your consciousness with the truth that you are the divine imagination, you become plugged into the nourishing currents of infinite origination itself. The limitless continuum becomes the divine nectar nourishing your human incarnation toward greater and greater blossomings of actualization. The realms of genius mastery, astounding self-actualization, and phenomenal success become not just available to you, but inevitable emanations of your being. For you come to recognize yourself as the miraculous subconscious dreamer from whose infinite depths all objects arise, and all manifestations perpetually holographically project through the spectrum of your sensory observations.